What's going on, guys? I'm doing this sort of vlog video thing in response to something that I was scrolling through my Twitter recently, and I saw a post from Shoryuken's Twitter about the Smashbox and how it's supposedly illegal or or it's being debated as if it should be illegal or should not be illegal at Genesis 4. And the reason why I decided to make this video in response to that is because I don't particularly use a Smashbox. I don't play Super Smash Brothers per, obvious reasons due to the blindness factor and whatnot. But it just got me thinking, right? Is like, why are you going to limit somebody from selling their product or possibly using something that would allow them to play the game? And I guess this is what it strikes me personally, because I get this a lot from being limited or being discriminated against. And I'm not saying it's a blatant discrimination for Smash players. I'm just saying it's an interesting thing that I thought about, and it hit me a little bit harder because I use a hitbox. The creator, Hitbox Dustin and whatnot, he made a response to this as well, and he was saying, this is why we want our product to be out there. And I'm gonna put up some gameplay footage real quick for KI. I use a hitbox. Okay, I use not a Smashbox. I use an actual hitbox. Hopefully, I can get this on camera for you guys. I use a hitbox as my primary controller. Why? Well, there's many reasons why I use a hitbox. Okay, when I first started my fighting game career, streaming on Twitch, and playing and starting to say, you know what, I'm going to get into fighting games competitively. I started playing Street Fighter 4. Okay, Ultra Street Fighter 4 is what I started playing because I really wanted to get back into the fighting games because I used to play as a kid. Well, when I was playing, I bought a Quamba Q1 because I was looking for a cheap introduction to fight sticks. And for me, playing on controller or pad, however you want to say it, was difficult for me because of the fact that every time I try to do the execution on a D-pad or even on the joystick, I would get other inputs. And yeah, you can say, yeah, it just takes practice, or take this, but every time I would play on a controller or a pad, the more I practiced, the more I felt my hand starting to hurt. Like my thumb would get raw, or it would start to really become just increasingly difficult for me to perform something consistently. For example, like the Tatsu into Shoryuken with either Ryu or Akuma, going into Tatsu into Shoryuken, that I can do that consistently, just starting playing pad but after maybe an hour or so, it would stop. It would lose its consistency. And obviously you don't want that in a fighting game. So I was looking for the options, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to see if I can invest into a fight stick. I invested into the Q1, and I liked it, and it was fun, and it was fine to use. My hand stopped hurting, but also I realized that the consistency was still dropping after a while. And for me, like I said, you can't have inconsistencies when it comes down to using a fight stick or a controller or whatnot, playing a fighting game. You need to have your inputs consistent. Like for example, this, going into a light opener into a medium auto double into a medium or heavy linker into a manual, that needs to be consistent. So here, that needs to be consistent. And yeah, that takes execution and timing, and I can do that on a fight stick, don't get me wrong. I have a Razer Aatrox, and I also have my Quamba still, but I prefer the hitbox. Why? Because it's a personal preference. It's something that I've come to know and love and adapted to using. And I've seen some of the stuff and see with a grain of salt. I've heard of some of the stuff, like for example, I know that Eris, or Avoiding the Puddle, has done a review of the hitbox. I don't know how he feels about it now. I really don't. But I know for when I listened to his review, when I was gonna pick up a hitbox, he thought that it shouldn't be tournament legal because it was so easy for you to do Korean backdashes in Tekken. Well, I mean, why are you going to limit the usage of these I guess peripherals is the best way I can say it. Now I understand if you can mod these peripherals, but that's with anything. You can mod a controller, you can mod a fight stick, you can even mod the hitbox. And I guess that was one of the major concerns with the the Smashbox, was that people, or Genesis or whoever, the TOs at the tournament, thought that these players were gonna, you know, drill holes or put extra buttons or put a joystick or mod the controller into that. And I agree, that should not be allowed. You should not be able to mod your hitbox, or, you know, your Smashbox, or your fight stick to give you that edge. It should come stock. Now I'm not saying mod it as in putting LED lights or whatever. Fine, I think that should be allowed because I have LED lights on mine. But what I'm saying is, you can't have macro keys. You can't have macros. You can't have, unless they're, you know, in the game already. Like, for example, the 3 punch and 3 kick buttons on the, you know, 4. So like, this is a 3 punch button, but that's already in the game. You know what I mean? Like, every time I hit this button, I'm gonna get three punches no matter, or 3 kicks no matter what. This is gonna be 3 punches no matter what. But I can also do it like this. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, it all depends on your preference. And I get it that you don't want somebody to mod something to where you can hit a button and a macro comes out. That makes sense. But having these controllers stock, you know, coming right out of the box, or what Dustin or even the Hitbox team sends you, and if you take that into a tournament, my belief is that should be allowed, because of the fact that you're not only, if you limit the peripheral, you're basically limiting a player, saying, hey man, you can't play this game. Because it's like what he said in the video, I can't do wave dashes because it hurts after a while. If you want to level the playing field, what if everybody in Street Fighter had to use pad? All the stick guys would be pissed off. They wouldn't want to play. Or what if everybody had to use a fight stick and not a pad? What would happen to people like Knuckle Do? What would happen to people like Snake Eyes? You know what I mean? Like, it would eliminate these people, these potential people that want to play the game because they can't use what they're comfortable with. Now, like I said, modding aside, I'm talking stock controller. I'm talking, you go into the Hitbox website, you purchase something, you know, you purchase a Hitbox, and that's what you're going to use. I'm not saying that you're going to purchase a Hitbox, start drilling holes in places and rewiring and remapping and whatnot. And, you know, that's with the fighting game community. Like, everybody's going to find their comfort peripheral. I do not think that Hitbox, Smashbox, controllers, fight sticks, I don't think any of them should be banned. Because why? Because it adds a level of competitiveness. And just because you think you have an edge with the Hitbox over a pad, that doesn't matter, because you're not dealing with somebody that says, oh hey, I'm gonna play on controller and then you're gonna play on Hitbox, or I'm gonna play on controller and he's gonna play on a fight stick. You can't really judge who's better at that point. It's gonna be in the game and how people, you know, think and react in the game versus what they're using. Does the Hitbox offer a bit of ease of execution? Yes, and I'll be the first one to say that it does. It's very quick. You know, executing things is very easy for me. But if I, for example, if I hand this over to Joe or Serge or anybody else, they had trouble executing these things. Even when I went to Texas Showdown back in, I think it was either August or September, I gave this to some people and they are like, man, I don't even think I could use this. And it just takes time. It's a learning curve to use this. It's just like a fight stick. You go from a controller to a fight stick, you're going to have a learning curve. You go from a fight stick to a controller, you're going to have a learning curve. It just all depends on your preference as a player, as a gamer. And another thing that he said, you know, Dustin brought up a good point, is how is he going to kickstart this Smashbox if he can't use it at the venues, if he can't use it at a Smash tournament? If they can't use it, how are they going to promote it? Because this is something that he wants to put forth, because not only does it help him, because he can't do wave dashes for a long period of time, it loses its consistency, so that makes him less of a competitive player as time goes on. but it also limits other people who want to potentially get into Smash, because not everybody likes a GameCube controller. Everybody can't play on a controller. It's like what I said, for if you're playing Tekken, you can't use pad. Not saying you would, but I'm just saying if pad wasn't allowed in Tekken, you have to use a fight stick, for example. You're going to eliminate potential players coming into your game, or potential players that want to compete. You're only limiting that, the player base is what I'm trying to say. I feel between a hitbox, a fight stick, and a controller or a pad, I feel like there's no competitive edge, because you're still have to think, you still have to react, and you still have to, judge based off the situation. Every character is different, every player is different. You cannot compare two players even when they're using the same peripheral. Like, you can't compare, for example, Snake Eyes and NuckleDu. You can't compare them. They both use pad, as far as I'm concerned. I think NuckleDu uses pad. I know for a fact Snake Eyes does. But you can't, and also you can't compare like Takedo and Daigo. They both use fight sticks. Or even in the Mortal Kombat universe, Hitbox Tyrant and some other people, or myself, I use Hitbox and Killer Instinct. I know that Zero May Cry, or UL Zero May Cry, I think it's Zero May Cry, he uses a hitbox. Skyster uses a hitbox. A lot of people are turning to hitbox because they feel like it's easier, but that doesn't mean it's easier. There's still a learning curve. There's still a fact that you have to pick up this hitbox and learn how to use it. Will it get easier over time? Yeah, I think this is a great peripheral, and I would not want to see or hear of it being banned in a tournament, because if not only are you banning the hitbox, but you're banning the player. And some people can argue, oh, just learn fight stick. Why? If I already know a hitbox, it's like telling a person who uses controller, you better learn a fight stick or you can't play. What's the difference in that? You better learn how to use a fight stick, because we don't offer controllers. And that's what I'm saying. The stock experience, if you buy a hitbox or you buy a fight stick, you buy a controller, the only modifications that should be, quote unquote, allowed are, certain button remapping if it's already in the game, right? If the game supports button remapping, you can do the button remapping, or if you're putting LED lights in the hitbox, because LED lights does not add a competitive edge. It's just something that looks pretty. So if you're using the stock controller, the stock peripheral, I believe that it should be allowed in tournaments. And, I hope people share that belief with me. I mean, I'm coming from somebody who already has a disability. I can't imagine somebody who has arthritis, or who has, hand problems or something or other, that doesn't allow them to use a controller. And they don't necessarily want to have a fight stick, because right now that's technically really the only two options in the FGC. Hitbox comes along and they have this whole other option now. Now they're trying to branch over to the Smash community, because a lot of the Smash community uses GameCube controllers. I don't pretend to know a lot about the Smash community. Obviously, I don't play Smash, so I don't know. But I do know that a lot of them use the GameCube controller. So they want, I'm guessing Hitbox or Smashbox wants to give that other option to these players, to potential players that just can't get the tilt, or just can't get something down because their thumb doesn't work that way, or they can't really, understand it. It's because I guarantee you tell Tokido, Daigo, Momochi, you tell them to play on controller, can they do it? Probably, but are they going to be at their peak performance? No, because they're used to playing on fight stick. It's almost like telling them, hey, you can't use this because we are afraid what you can do with it. That's basically what they're saying. We're afraid on what this peripheral can offer. And that's not on Dustin. That's not on the Hitbox team. That's on somebody modding their controller to get that edge. It's no different than having that person modding a GameCube controller or this and that. Just do a controller check. I've been into tournaments. I went to Evo and they checked controllers. They checked my hitbox. Have your TO just do a controller check and it'll be fine. That's my opinion. That's how I think. And that's the reason why I feel like I should, talking to you guys a little bit about it. Why I use a hitbox. You know, I use it because it's comfortable. Can I use a fight stick? Yeah, I can. Can I use a controller? Yeah, I can. But do I prefer to use a hitbox? Yes, I do. Will I continue using hitbox? Yes, I will continue using hitbox for Killer Instinct, for Street Fighter, for Tekken when it comes out. And I really do hope that they just unban, or maybe, you know, decide to make the Smashbox legal, because it allows this product to flourish. It allows new people to come into Smash, or, you know, potential people who are on the edge or who are teetering to kind of get into the game. And it all depends on the peripheral, you know what I mean? It could just depend on the controller. Somebody may love Smash for what it is, but they hate the GameCube controller, so they won't play it. The Smashbox could be something that gets some of those players into their foot in the door, and they could be great. They could be the next Mewtwo King, or they could be the next, you know, whoever is big in Smash right now. I'm not gonna pretend to know who it is, but they can be the next big player with the Smashbox. And I think limiting these peripherals in the FGC because, oh, it makes execution easier, or oh, it's too easy to use. How do you know that? Put a hitbox in Daigo's hand. Is he gonna be perfect as soon as he uses it? No. Will he become better as time goes on? Sure, for sure. It's just with anything. You practice with a peripheral, you'll get better naturally. You'll definitely get better, and it'll definitely come easier. Are there things that make life easier on a hitbox? Yeah, there are. Just like going from controller to fight stick. Controller has, for KI, it has A, B, right bumper, or right trigger, sorry, are the kicks, and then you have X, Y, and right bumper are the punches. Now you can obviously remap these controls, but if you just use the stock, that's a weird layout for myself. Does fight stick make that easier? Hell yeah, it does. You get 6 buttons laid out. It's a 6-button fighting game. It's 6 buttons. You have light, medium, heavy on the top, light, medium, heavy kicks on the bottom. Makes it easier. There's no difference between now going from fight stick to a hitbox. The only difference is that you take the stick out and you add buttons. That's it. But yeah, just kind of wanted to give you my insight, you know, show off a little bit of the hitbox and why I prefer using it. And I just thought it would have been interesting to really get an idea and to speak my mind about the Smashbox. And I don't know, I just felt really in tune to discuss this. But if you guys made it through the whole video, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Obviously, if you hated it, you know, there's a thumbs down button for a reason. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions, concerns, and whatnot, and I'll check you guys out in the next video. All right, thanks guys, peace.